Welcome to the Scale Your Mastery podcast, and I am your host, Tracy D. Malone. Thank you for joining me today. This is our third day, and I'm very excited. There are some great things in store, and this is the actual second. Great things in store, and this is the actual second. Great things in store, and this is the actual second. Great things in store, and this. Okay. I had to remove the actually I could have just turned. So this is let you know just up front. This is build in public. So you've heard of that before. And I never imagined I would do it, but here I am doing it. So I'm doing it in regards to starting my YouTube podcast. YouTube YouTube podcast, YouTube, podcast, YouTube. It's not going to work. I thought I could go over there to my cell phone, have my cell phone, look at the chat, and then have the screen, but that's not working. So we're just going to do it this way. And I was just saying that I never imagined myself building anything in public, but here we are. So, my word of wisdom to you, never say never. You just never know what you're saying no to, perhaps. So, with this podcast, my goal is to bring you insightful conversations, introduce you to people who have mastered their craft. And I firmly believe that for entrepreneurs, who think they're ready to scale, the biggest thing that you can do, I believe, to increase profits overnight in your business is to scale your mastery before you scale your business. What? Let me just unpack that a little bit. So, I'm always reading about other business owners, entrepreneurs who have like made it big, whether that's someone who is considered a guru on LinkedIn, or whether it's someone in the business world who created a brand new industry with a new product or service. I'm always fascinated by their stories, and I do my best to learn from that. That's a part of wisdom. So what I see happening to many of them is that they will build a business, and this business is hugely successful, and then they end up hating it. They built a business that they don't even like. They built a business that they don't enjoy. They built a business that is the opposite of allowing them to be themselves. And so what if you are an entrepreneur, and let's say you've got less than 5 employees or team members, but if you're a solopreneur, especially if you're an entrepreneur who wants to make it big, I highly recommend that you scale your mastery before you scale your business. And let me stick with this subject for a little bit and unpack it a little more. I want to give you an analogy. So, prior to becoming a business consultant, meaning giving myself the title, prior to doing that, I had a real estate career. I was a residential real estate broker, had a real estate career for about 22 years, up until when the pandemic struck and, the world shut down. Up until that point, that's something I had done for a very long time. And I was actually really good at it. And I'll tell you a story another day about the segue into real estate. But I'll let you know this. I ended up getting Rookie of the Year in my first year as a realtor. So when you see me talk about 2X award winning entrepreneur, that's one of the awards that I'm referring to. But here's what I like to use real estate analogies. I think a lot of people can relate to that. So you're familiar with if somebody sells their house, maybe you've sold a home or a condo or a townhouse, or maybe you know somebody else who has. What happens is oftentimes that homeowner is going to go through uh, that property, and they're going to take all the valuable stuff, right? And ideally, a lot of times their goal is to leave it empty. But can you imagine if the homeowner had a safe in one of the bedrooms and that safe was stuffed with loads of cash? I mean, bulging out of the safe, just handfuls of cash, cash money, right? Imagine that homeowner leaving that home, handing the keys over to the new owner, but leaving that safe in that bedroom stuffed with cash. Can you imagine that? Who in their right mind would do that? Do you know anybody? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that would do that. So if you wouldn't do it in real life, why do it in your business? Why would you do it in your business? If it doesn't make sense to leave money behind in a home that you will no longer have access to, why do it in your business if you wouldn't do that in real life? Business is your life, right? You are in control of your business, right? You still have the keys to your business. You haven't sold it. You still own it 100%. So that's what it's like when a business owner has a level of mastery that they refuse to tap into for whatever reason. For whatever reason, they just refuse to tap into their next level of mastery. So they what they end up doing, if you don't tap into your mastery, you're leaving money on the table. You've heard that phrase before. We've all heard that phrase before if we're business owners, leaving money on the table. And it's something I see all the time. All the time. I have a lot of meetings one on one with owners. We talk about their business. I have not met one yet that wasn't leaving some money on the table, right? So this is why I believe, this is why I believe this, that if you say you're ready to scale your business, one of the worst things you can do is go out and hire a VA, right? If you're hiring a VA, it's basically you're hiring a VA to help you. I'm assuming you want more profits. I don't know anybody that would hire a VA that didn't want to either increase their profits or relieve them from some of their time constraints. So if that's the case, then why not scale your mastery before you hire the VA? Because this is actually something I've seen. I I know I had a business owner I was working with, and maybe I think they were listening to some other advice outside of the purview of what, I was discussing with them. And I believe that person was telling them to go hire a VA. On the surface, it sounds harmless. But guess what? They were going to actually hire a VA before they even knew what they would delegate to the VA. VA meaning virtual assistant. So that doesn't make sense. So you have to look at what's going to make sense. Is it going to make sense and is it going to make money? All business owners want to make more money. They want more profits. They want more clients, customers, right? They want more business. So these are just a few of the things you want to take a look at. So I just wanted to unpack that a little bit to give you a little bit of the analogy of what's really happening here. So in real estate, like I said, I like to use these analogies because I think a lot of people can relate to. So one of the things I was studying for my exam, for the real estate exam, and by the way, I passed on the first try. And I was told by everybody, "Oh, it's so difficult. Most people don't pass on the first try." Well, I wasn't trying to be most people. I was trying to be myself and figure out what it is I could do at the highest level. So in real estate, there's this term when it comes to appraised value of a property. The appraiser is going to come out and take a look. Usually they take pictures, they take dimensions, they walk the property. It could be a piece of vacant land, it could be a commercial strip, it could be a parking lot, it could be a single family home, it could be a multi-unit home or structure, 6 unit, 3 unit, what have you. The goal of the appraiser is to find out the current value of that property, right? So one of the things they're going to do in order to determine that, they have this list of checks and balances that they use. They have this set of criteria, um, and they're required. They take an oath to use this this set of information to determine the value. So it's never that person coming up with their own estimate. They have to use formulas, they have to use a methodology, and it's very strict. And so, one of the things that they do is they are always looking for what is the highest and best use of this property, right? What is the highest and best use of that piece of property? So, for instance, let's say that there's a vacant lot. What is the highest and best use of that vacant lot? So they've got to use all the parameters at their disposal. They've got to complete every speck of the information. They've got to fill in all the blanks, right? And at the end of that, then they look at the big picture to see what is the highest and best use of that piece of land. And so the answer is not always going to be the same. So depending on that piece of land, for instance, give you an example, four corners of an intersection, right? So let's just take let's northeast corner. Let's just say northeast corner. On the northeast corner, that's where that piece of vacant land is. And so the appraiser may say, based on the fact that this is in on the northeast corner of this intersection, the highest and best use of this piece of land is going to be a Starbucks. Why? Because that corner, northeast corner, is on the same side of the street that leads to the expressway that people use to go to work every morning, right? If it had been diagonally across the other side of the street, the highest and best use would not be a Dunkin' Donuts. It would be something else. My point here is that the same thing is true for your mastery. The same thing is true for your mastery. You have to look at your mastery and figure out at this moment in time, based on the entire skill set that I've developed, based on who I am as a person, based on where I am in my life, based on where I am mentally, and not necessarily geography wise, that doesn't matter as much anymore due to the internet, but based on all those factors, based on your time constraint factors, what is the highest and best use of my skills, my expertise right now, based on where I am and what I've done, all of the facts and information that I've gathered that got me to this point, what is the highest and best use of my mastery right now, right? And so, what you're going to find is that when you look at it from that perspective, it's going to narrow what your choices are. Just like that example I gave about the piece of land on the northeast corner. And if Starbucks didn't want it, guess what? It's a perfect location for Dunkin' Donuts. And if Dunkin' Donuts didn't want it, guess what? It's a perfect location for a mom and pop shop that wanted to get set up, right? Maybe Starbucks, the nearest one is 10 blocks away. Maybe that's too close, right? So this is what I want you to consider. When you're looking at your mastery, what is the highest and best use to put that out there in the world today, right? So That's why I believe it's important to take a step back before you scale your business and look at what's happening with your mastery. Look at what's happening with your mastery. So, I want to give you an example. You'll see me use certain people over and over. They just really, you know, they're just the perfect example of mastery. And so you'll hear me mention them over and over. So one that I'll use is Oprah Winfrey, right? We know that she had the Oprah Winfrey talk show. So she did that for, I believe it was 20, 25 years before she retired from it. And then I forgot the exact time frame of this, but I believe you know that she left there and but before she left the show or ended the show, she had already started her production company. But do you remember one of the next things she announced after that is the Oprah Winfrey Network? So do you see how she started with the mastery, you know, being in front of the camera? Then I'm sure she was at the same time developing mastery behind the camera, right? She was at the same time developing that. She was also still maybe doing some acting or reading scripts or what have you. What she did though is she segued her mastery to the next level. Who would have thought? I mean, I wasn't like I was studying her. I mean, I wasn't shocked that she started, Oprah Winfrey Network, the OWN network. But do you see how her mastery took her to the next step? So your mastery is always trying to expand into the universe. It's always trying to expand out. And so if you that business owner, and let's say you started an accounting practice and you're still doing accounting 5, 10 years in, it's time for that next level. It's time for that next level. You got to take your mastery. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. However, here's what happens. If your mastery is not progressing, it's regressing because everything is in motion. That's the law of motion. Everything is in motion at all times, right? Nothing stays the same. Everything is in motion, constant. Motion is constant. So if you think of, let's say that this is a car, right? And this is another car. If this car is still in motion up until the point of impact. And the motion from this car has now been transferred to this car. Motion is always in effect. So that's what I want you to consider. And one of the things that I talk about is being able to scale your mastery, but also this is a great way to scale your business. So you got to consider, are you building a business, a brand, or both? Are you building a business, a brand, or both? So why not build your business and brand at the same time? Your mastery is a great way to be able to do that. Your mastery is that sweet spot to help you to amplify your business and your mastery at the same time so that you can reach more ideal clients. That's the goal. If you want to reach more clients and you want to do it without burnout, you want to do it without overworking, that is the main goal, is to scale your mastery before you scale your business. And then what you'll find is if you follow this uh, recommendation, what you'll find is that you will have a compound effect in your business growth. Your business will just take off because you've got such a solid foundation, and that foundation is bringing in profits. Okay. And then what happens is when you put the other implements of scaling on top of that, when you've got your workflows and your systems in place, and it's on top of you being maxed out at your highest level, you get compound growth. I mean, rapid growth that's solid, is sustainable, and there's nowhere to go but up. That's the beauty of being able to max your mastery. So I'm a firm believer um, that you should scale smarter, not harder. A lot of business owners, they get to that point, like I said before, they they got really successful. They were profitable. They got successful and profitable, and they ended up with a business they hated. The business was everything opposite of who they wanted to be. The business created a lifestyle, and they found themselves in that lifestyle of that business, and they didn't like who they were. They didn't like who they had become. They didn't like doing the things they had to do to keep that business successful. And so many times what they do is they have to shut it down altogether and start over from scratch. And I've seen several of them posting about this on LinkedIn. And if you see one of them posting about that, do me a favor and DM a link to the post to me on LinkedIn, please. So because at some point I'm gonna, once I get a little bit more settled into the new podcast, I will have more notes and be a little bit more tighter on the production, and then I'll be bringing you names and facts and stories with all the details, right? But in the meantime, you've got access to the internet, so if you wanted to fact check anything I'm saying, feel free to just go ahead and Google and find out. Let me know if you see anything. Fact check that I'm saying something that's not accurate. Please feel free to just let me know. Okay. But my goal is to bring you uh, conversations with interesting people who have leaned into their mastery and found ways to amplify it and serve more people at a higher level. So, and if you haven't already, I just want to ask you to like this podcast episode, and then also please give it give a subscription to the channel. Now, I'll tell you this, like I said, I'm building in public. One thing that happened on day one, I did not know that I couldn't go live on YouTube uh, instantly. I didn't know that. So I found out when I pressed the button, and YouTube said, "Oh no, you have to get our permission. It's your very first episode, so you have to get our permission for that." So that ended up delaying me from going live. I recorded it and it's posted now, but it wasn't live. It was live from the video that I shot on my cell phone, but it wasn't a live stream on YouTube. Um, but yeah, so the other thing that I found out in as a result of that is that I would love to go live from my cell phone, but I can't do that until I get 50 subscribers. So do me a huge favor. If this is useful to you, if you know somebody else who would enjoy this conversation, go ahead and share this with them and ask them to subscribe so that that can reach more people with this message, because I believe it's a timely message for the days and times that we live in. We have to find ways to do more with less, right? And this is a very key way to do that. We have to find ways to do more with less, and this is a perfect way to do that because when you max your mastery and scale your business with your mastery, is nothing but straight profit. It's nothing but straight profit. There's nothing in the way. Like you take your service based. Let me say this, of course. You're a service based entrepreneur and you provide a service out of your mastery, out of your zone of genius, out of your highest level skill set. And it's up to you to create a package around that so that you can serve people up here versus serving people down here. And when you elevate that experience, that elevated package with that experience attached to it has a higher price point. It has a greater value to the person who's the recipient. It's a win-win for everybody, and I love creating win-win situations. When I was in real estate, those were the type of deals I did. I presented win-win offers to sellers. If I was the if I was the buyer's agent, presented win-win offers on behalf of the buyers. And one of the things I would love to do, and I was really good at it, was getting to that conference table and presenting that offer to that seller on behalf of my buyers. And I had a very high success rate of getting my offers accepted. And then ushered in the time frame where faxes were used instead of meeting face to face. I hated that. I hated that. I hated that. There's no competitive advantage to using a fax machine, right? I mean, you can imagine that. All the offers look alike. Then you would try to tell a story. If you were able to tell a story, but then not every owner wanted to see the story or hear the story. They didn't want to read the story. And then also it got involved with some possible HUD violations. Anyway, I do want to encourage you that if you haven't done so yet, have a chat with someone. If not me, someone else. Have a chat with someone about the work that you do. Is it time for you to discover new ways to amplify your mastery? Is it time for you to take your mastery to the next level? Is it time to expand on your offer? Is it time to create a profitable offer that provides more value at a higher price point? These are all ways in which you could um, start to dominate a section of your marketplace for the work that you do. I just want you to consider that. So we know that inflation is rising. We know that tax rates are rising, property taxes, employment taxes, all type of taxes are rising. Everything related to cost, the cost of food is rising, the cost of shelter, everything is rising. So when was the last time you gave yourself a raise? If you were in corporate, you would be going to your boss expecting a raise at least once a year. As an entrepreneur, why is it different? When was the last time you examined your offer to make sure that you were keeping up with the times, to make sure that you're still relevant? When was the last time you did that? So, if you're not being relevant, you end up getting left behind. So, I'd be happy to sit down with you and take a look at your offer to find ways in which we can increase the value that you provide. And also, what happens, think about this. Here's a really cool thing that happens as a result of you amplifying your mastery. The higher you go up to the top of your level of mastery, the less work you end up doing. Think about that. The less work you do, the higher you go up your mastery level. Up level your mastery so that you can free up more time. That's what happens. I'll go back to the example with Oprah. Perfect example. So she owned the TV station. I mean, she owned the Oprah Winfrey show when she was, sitting down interviewing people. And then she went on to owning a station. She was probably doing the same amount of work that she did for her Oprah Winfrey show as the owner of the TV station. She It was the same amount. It was probably the same amount of work. But look at that side by side. You have a TV show, you have a network, and you're doing the same amount of work. But now you own a network. You know that there's more profits in owning a network than there is a TV show. Of course. But you get to do the same amount of work. Like you have the same hours. Like who wouldn't choose that? Oh, I'll tell you, who wouldn't choose that is someone who doesn't have a growth mindset. Someone who says, I don't want to grow. I just want to stay still. I just want to play with my grandkids. My life is over. I just want to do that. I'm tired. That type of person, yeah, you're not going to choose being the owner of a network. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to do this again next week. I'm deciding on the schedule. Haven't decided yet, but as soon as I do, I hope you'll follow me on LinkedIn and become a part of my network, my community over there. As soon as I do, I'll drop a post here and also on LinkedIn to let you know what I decide. It may be that I go live Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I'm just not sure, but I'll definitely make that decision. Like I said, what you can expect in the future, I want to keep the live going. However, when I start to have guests, some of them are going to be in different countries and time zones. I know that one person is going to be coming on, and she's in Ireland. So we're going to be in different time zones, and we may have to record that. I do like the 9 o'clock hour for recording and showing up on live stream. It happens to coincide with my post on LinkedIn. I post every day, 7 days, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on LinkedIn. So I really would like to keep that all together. The only downside is that if I'm here recording live stream, I'm not engaging on my post on LinkedIn. That's the only, I have to figure that out. Okay. But other than that, yeah, this is really, really great. I hope that you will continue to tune in. If you have questions for me, feel free to drop it in the comments, or you could send it to my email at tracydmalone@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me there. And if you know someone also who would make a great guest on the show, you know that they have mastery and you know that they would love to talk about that, feel free to mention that as well. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. I've got to get ready for 10 o'clock, but I really, really do want to leave you with one thought. The sky is not the limit, it's only the view. Until next time, take care.